New show, same vibes. Lance Briggs and Jerry Azumah. It's the Brick by Brick show. We're talking Bears football starting right now. Welcome back here to a brand new show on the CHGO Sports Network with CHGO Bears. It is officially the Brick by Brick show. I am your host, Greg Briggs Jr. Alongside me, as always, is the man, the myth, the legend, Lance Briggs, and of course, Jerry Azumah here joining us now. So we appreciate you guys. I don't know if we're hearing. So what do you got a waterfall behind you, Lance?
No, it's not a waterfall. It's just that's Niagara Falls.
Yeah,
Niagara
that's right.
Falls. I'm out in Toronto right now. I'm out in Toronto. I'm here witnessing the Toronto Argonauts build back. As you know, Canadian football is well underway. So here to see them turn things around. Have to a rough start, so I'm here to watch them turn things around out here.
Absolutely, and I think we got Jerry is, I think, potentially going to jump back in. He's got a little lagging issue, but hey, first, you know what? It wouldn't be a first Brick by Brick show without a little bit of technical difficulties, but when Jerry jumps back in, we'll get into a lot of the different stuff, but we're excited to bring this new program to you. Obviously, here during the off season, we've been doing CHGO Bears After Dark, and we've been working really hard on, this new iteration of what we're going to bring you from a content standpoint here all season long. So work with us with a little bit of the adjustments of schedule as we get through training camp here.
Brad, ask me this question. What does Brick by Brick mean to you?
Oh, man. Well, it's for me, as somebody, obviously, we all know, anybody that's watched, CHGO Bears knows that I was a bricklayer for 20 years and was able to give it up to do this full time. And I'm very grateful for my 20 years as a bricklayer. And, I think the thing that I always say is, and it sounds corny, but it is the truth, it's about consistency, right? And I think there's a lot of metaphors in life when you're out there laying brick on a wall. And I did it for many years in the heat of the summer, like we're dealing with right now, and the bitter cold in the winter. And the one thing about bricklaying, Lance, is, as a bricklayer, you always see the one imperfection, because you understand the details. But as you lay each brick, as you lay each course, anybody, the customers and the people that walk up on a building, they don't see that imperfection. They just see the wall. And that to me is the metaphor of life. Like, yeah, not every brick's going to be perfect, but if you're consistent enough and you stick to your details and your fundamentals, then when you're done and you look at the finished product, it may have been things that aren't perfect along the way, but at the end of the day, you've got that wall built, and no one sees that and understands, just how, that's what life's all about, Lance.
Yeah. What I also love about that too is, the parallels from bricklaying to football. And when you talk about football, you say, okay, listen, we don't want to skip steps. If we want to get somewhere, we want to be strong, we want to be a strong team, we have to do this one step at a time. So we always use the term brick by brick. And when you go brick, by the time you build that wall, you have a solid foundation, and so I love that parallel in football, and they use it at every level, and when you explain your 20 years of bricklaying, it all makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Jerry, welcome back to the program. I know you're efforting through some technical issues. No big deal. How are we doing today, Jerry?
Doing well, guys. How you guys doing?
Doing good. You got a little bit of lagging. I don't know, maybe if you want to hop on your phone for today's program, that's up to you. But your video's lagging a little bit. It's no big deal.
You look like a B-rated movie right now.
It's no big deal. Maybe.
All right, guys, I'll be right back.
No problem. No problem. We appreciate you trying hard here, Jerry, as always. So that's what it's going to be here. The Brick by Brick show with Lance Briggs and Jerry Azumah. We're going to be giving the players' perspective all season long. And Ben Johnson dropped a brick by brick in his introduction press conference a couple days ago. So as you say, it is certainly a sports metaphor that a lot of teams live by.
Yeah.
So let's look at the schedule here coming up here as we get through the month of the end of July and the month of August. Here, public practices start tomorrow, so I'll be on hand for Friday and Saturday, and then we start to get into next week's going to be real busy. So a few weeks away from joint practices against the Dolphins and Bills, and obviously still a few weeks away from the first preseason game. So for you, Lance, when you look at this and training camp being officially here, what was your mindset, going into those first few days of camp? Like, was it about, trying to get back in football shape, or were you kind of, obviously football is a 365-day-a-year job, but what was your mindset typically when you were going into those practices to start the year at camp?
My mindset was I can't wait to smell the grass. I can't wait to do the things that all entail being a part of football. Talking with the trainers. Saying hi to everybody and what time I'm coming in to get taped, and getting all the prep. All the prep stuff. It's not the details that people kind of see when they talk and look football, because usually when they turn the tape on and they look at what's going on, it's training camp practices or interviews. So this is more of coming in, I'm talking to Tim Bream and telling them this is what's been going on with my body, and hey, I need you in at 6 a.m. tomorrow, Lance. I need you doing this, and this is how we're going to work on this year, and we're going to go in this direction. And depending on what year it is, if it's early, you got to be there at 5 o'clock before all the veterans come in. If it's later on in my career, then it's hey, you're going to be practicing the first 3 days, and then we're taking you off on day 4. You're having day 4 off. It's one of those deals that just when it comes to the prep of training camp, it's everybody's different. Every detail is different for everybody, but that's what you look forward to.
Yeah. And we talked about it, I think, on our last, show, when it was after dark, and, talking about the physicality that you guys used to have to play through. And I think it's kind of tapered down through the decades. Like you guys
tapered.
Yeah.
Briggs, I was part of 26 straight double days. 26 tapered down.
Yeah.
No, you couldn't water it down any more than what it is now. All right. 26 double days straight is unheard of. All right. No one's ever heard of that nowadays.
No, and you're right. And it's like, we're going to get into some of the injuries that the Bears are trying to process through right now. But, I think you could, I don't know, could you make the argument that those 26 double days was for the betterment of you and the team to be calloused up and ready for week 1? Or do you wish that you had the schedule these guys have right now? Would you have been ready anyway?
Look, when I looked at our schedule and I saw the double days, and then, you just like you put that calendar up for training camp, I counted. I was like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm counting. I'm like, holy smokes, this is crazy. You know what I mean? And now, and we were doing double days back then. Hell, I did 3 a days when I was at Arizona, University of Arizona. So when I count, and I'm like, holy smokes, that's 26. You know what I mean? Like that was a lot for us back then. Do I think the watering down is good for longevity? Yes, but because it's watered down, you have to make sure that you're getting physical play every day, every opportunity that you get. Because if you're not really preparing for what's to come. Yeah,
for sure. As we bring Jerry here back.
There he is.
What's up, y'all?
Woo! In live action, Jerry. Nice.
He bought some Wi-Fi.
Like I never left.
Yeah, yeah. So no, we appreciate it. Yeah, we're just getting into a little bit of the training camp schedule, and Lance talking about doing those double days, 26 straight days.
Zoom was there.
What? So for you
there.
guys,
I was definitely there. I was in that era. I feel like the kids these days, they don't know nothing about that.
No, they definitely.
That's exactly what I said. They have no clue what that is.
Not only do they not have double days, but they barely go live and do live hitting during most of these sessions. So, that's just one of those things. So how about you guys then? 26 straight double days. When were you able to convince Lovey that you were you could get a Veterans Day off? Like at what point in your career were you allowed to vouch for a Veterans Day off?
Zoom was
I don't even think it's really about that. I just think,
No, go ahead, Zoom.
Go ahead, Lance.
Was the 26 double days, was that with Lovey or was that with Jerron?
I think it was with Jerron.
I think so too.
But Lovey had a lot of two-a-days in there also.
He did. The 26 straight, that was Dick Jerron, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, all right. Well, I know at some point, I know you guys were starting to get a little bit of slack and leeway as the vets, but not very much because that's how you guys were one of the top defenses in football every single year. So, let's get into it now that we got the full house here. Obviously, the big news of the last couple days was Luther Burden, not practicing yesterday, which I think for some was a bit of a surprise. He is dealing with a soft tissue injury. Ben Johnson gave the update this morning.
Yeah.
And, he had a hamstring injury during OTAs and minicamp. So, Jerry, I'll start with you just since you're jumping back in here. And I want to get your perspective as well, Lance. Just have you ever had to deal with a hamstring injury? I'm assuming you guys both have. And what is that like to kind of work through that? And how frustrating can that be to try to get to 100% while knowing that you kind of have to, wait until that is fully healed?
Right. I mean, I'm sure that Luther Burden really wants to be out there on that football field. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that he wants to be on the sidelines just watching his team play. So he has to be healthy first. First and foremost, you have to get yourself healthy. I've never experienced anything like that with hamstring injuries or anything like that. But obviously I've seen them and I've been around the NFL long enough to know that it's something that is serious and that can hamper you moving forward. So he just has to just kind of take it easy. I know that he's excited. He wants to get out there. I know that Ben Johnson and the whole offensive staff want him to be around so that they can just feel complete and feel like a whole and feel like a complete unit. But unfortunately, it's just not going to happen right now. And it's just going to have to take some time. You know what I'm saying? I don't want him to rush back and hurt himself even more. So they're going to be careful with him with the training staff. They're going to work closely with Ben as well. And just basically get him ready to get into action. But it's really unfortunate because we want to see what he's all about. We've been hearing spectacular things about him, but just hasn't really been healthy enough to get on that football field.
Yeah, I think Tyrese Halliburton had a hamstring injury, right? And that ended up resulting in an Achilles injury in the NBA Finals. So you do have to be careful. Go ahead, Lance.
Lovey was big on hamstrings. I think he used to say that he didn't make the NFL roster because he had a hamstring injury. So he was really big on hamstrings, and it's one of those deals, man. And especially for a guy like Luther, who's a burner. He's a guy that can stretch the field. So if you don't allow a hamstring injury to recover or to fully heal, you can really set yourself back again. Coming out, you start running again, boom, here you go again. You're down another 2-3 weeks. So it's best to let it heal until it gets to the point. And they have the best doctors in the state of Illinois. They know when he's okay and when you can take it, ease back into it. Make sure that you're feeling okay each practice, and they're checking on him, and then get to the point where, we will get a chance to see what he can do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm sure the coaching staff will be really careful with him. I mean, he's going to be a valuable key asset to this team moving forward. And I'm sure they have big plans for him day one. You know what I'm saying? Once they go out once Minnesota comes to the house, they're gonna need him. They're gonna need everyone ready to go. So the number one thing though is to stay as healthy as possible. So they're gonna monitor him as much as possible, and make sure that he's ready to go.
Zoom, he might be the first person to touch the ball as a Chicago Bear in this 2025 season.
Really?
If he's returning kicks, he might be the first person to touch the ball this year.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to just, like you guys said, you got to be careful. I know fans can be impatient at times, but obviously Luther Burden's certainly explosive, and we look forward to seeing him get out on that practice field sooner rather than later. So we are here with the Brick by Brick Show with Lance Briggs and Jerry Azumah all season long. Make sure you're hitting that like button while you're hanging out. We appreciate everybody tuned in, and want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors here. Obviously, we are presented by Empire Today and Circa Sports every single week here on the Brick by Brick Show, and we appreciate those guys. So we're going to take a quick time out and go over some of the different things that we heard from Ben Johnson over the last couple days. Obviously, practice has still been a little light first 2 days, but we do have some things we certainly want to get into, and so we will do that here when we come back after the break. Want to give a shout out to our friends over at Empire Today. Just like your favorite team needs a home field advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you get that. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. You go to those big box stores, you got to wander endlessly around the aisles, then somehow you're hauling the materials home yourself, looking for an installer and coordinating everything. Empire Today, they don't do that. They take care of you because they live and breathe flooring. They know exactly what they're talking about, and that's why you go to them. Pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space and schedule a free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. CHGO listeners can receive a $350 discount when using the promo code CHGO. That's right, you heard it. A $350 discount when using the code CHGO. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday.com for full details. And then, of course, got to give a shout out to our good friends over at Circa Sports. Circa Sports, whatever the sport, the app to bet is Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports, it's sports betting the way it should be. Circa Sports Illinois has high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service. Bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season. Spreads, props, futures, or in-game, Circa Sports has it. Fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. It's the second half of the season. The Chicago Cubs are on a pennant race, holding on for dear life with the Milwaukee Brewers. Make sure you throw down some bets on the Chicago Cubs and download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Obviously, you must be 21 or older, and if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Circa Sports Illinois, betting the way it should be. All right, we are back here on the Brick by Brick Show. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button while you're hanging out for CHGO Sports. We got a lot of great things coming your way from content. We got Hogan Johns Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We got CHGO Bears Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We got the Brick by Brick Show on Thursdays. We got Bears After Dark on Monday nights. And then, of course, our pre- and post-game shows on Sundays, 2 post-game shows. So there's a lot of stuff going on here at CHGO Bears, and a lot of content, and a lot of different voices and different perspectives that you guys have at your disposal as fans bringing in this content. So we appreciate everyone tuning in. So let's move on to the next topic here. Next item up for bid. Yesterday, I guess the big story from practice, it was a shortened practice, so only about an hour and 15 minutes, as they start to ramp up here. But, Ben Johnson during first team 7-on-7s, they first play was an interception, and then the next couple plays or 2 plays in a row, they couldn't get lined up properly. And so Ben Johnson pulled the starters off the field. Now today he kind of downplayed it and said, it's more about time and making sure each, first team, second team, and third team get their reps. But, for fans, obviously we're eating up every bit of information, that we get out of training camp. So I guess I'll ask you, how concerned should I be that the offense, they're already talking about not having attention to detail on day one? Or is this a good thing, how Ben Johnson is already holding these guys accountable and first day implementing, a standard that of acceptance?
Listen, two things can be said at once. Two things can be said at once, okay? Now, Ben Johnson is an offensive coach. He is an offensive coach, all right? Very good one, yes. But two things can be said at once. And some people can say that was a bad start for the offense, but that was a great start for the defense. Okay?
That's a win for the defense, baby. Let's look at the positives here. It's a win for the defense.
Damn right. And where I look at it too is this offense should be going against the top defense in the NFL. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's the way I look at it. That's the way it should be looked at, and so it's not going to be easy. It's certainly not going to be easy, but if you do find a way to move the ball on this defense, and this defense absolutely shows up this year, then you're going to go against opponents. You're going to say, damn, the guys we practice with are better than the guys we're going against on Sundays.
Right. I'm sure it wasn't the start that Ben wanted offensively, but, that's why we have training camp. We go through training camp to work out these kinks right here. I don't want to see this against Minnesota, but if it's happening the first day of training camp, and remind you, everybody is brand new here. The coaching staff is brand new. These players are brand new. They've never played together. The system is brand new as well. There's a lot of moving parts that have come together really quickly. And this is what training camp is about. You're going to fail in training camp. And it's about working out those kinks. So, everybody needs to be a little patient. It's day one, okay, of training camp. This is what we're going to go through. Not every single practice is going to be perfect, even though you want it to be perfect. So everybody needs to just relax, take it easy, let them work through these kinks, because that's what training camp is all about.
Yeah.
You know what they got to do, Brax? It's going to be brick by brick.
Brick by brick, absolutely. And you're right. There is two sides of the coin when you're watching practice. You got offense, and defense, but it always seems to be for, the nature of the fans that go to practice. And this goes back to the Bourbonnais days for me as well, where we all want to cheer. We all cheering for the offense, no matter how great the defense is. We want to see the touchdowns. And so I'll always remember one of my favorite moments at training camp in Bourbonnais was, that the offense is trying to throw these touchdowns. And when there's interceptions, you'd hear kind of a groan from the fans, like it was a bad thing. And Charles Peanut Tillman turns to the stands and is like, the defense plays for this team too. And everyone started laughing. But like, it is one of those things where, you got to give the defense some credit too. So if there were some false starts, maybe the offense was feeling the heat at the line of scrimmage from the defense.
This is all brand new. This is just day one. You know what I'm saying? Everybody needs to just chill for a second. This is what training camp is about. You're not going to be perfect, especially on day one. And we don't expect you to be perfect. Now, I know that Ben is coming in with the attitude of like perfection and things like that. And, he wants a lot of respect and attention to detail and things like that. But it's day one. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody wants to go out there and they want to show and prove and show what they got. No one's out there trying to look bad and put that on video. You know what I'm saying? Everybody is working towards a common goal. But unfortunately, there's going to be bumps and bruises along the way. And I'd rather have that happen now, early, and then work out these kinks. You know what I'm saying? Because once game day hits, I want to see perfection. You know what I mean? I want to see touchdowns and interceptions, from the Chicago Bears. But I'm not worried about it right now.
No.
It's day one, guys. Just relax.
Yep.
All right, I'll try. I know I probably won't be relaxed when I get to camp tomorrow. Certainly excited to get out there, and make sure you say hi if you're at training camp. Excited to see everybody that was lucky enough to be able to get a ticket. All right, so next part, Ben Johnson today spoke with the media before practice, and he was asked about 12 personnel usage. He mentioned, he talked about the New England Patriots. It was actually a pretty good quote that I could probably pull up for you here real quick, where he talked about, what he learned watching the New England Patriots and their run, obviously their dynasty run. And he said about that, every game is its own entity. That's what I learned. I saw it a number of years when I was in Miami. The New England Patriots were at the top of the league for so long, and each week you just didn't know. Offense and defense, they continued to morph, and they had their opponents guessing. You didn't know what Belichick was going to pull out front-wise or coverage-wise. You didn't know what Josh McDaniels was going to do on offense. He might throw it 50 times. He might run it 50 times. Standing from afar, seeing how dominant that was, I think that's a really good tactic to have. So I guess my question to you is, because then he was also asked about 12 personnel, so just hearing those things about, adaptability from Ben Johnson and when he spoke about 12 personnel and he said, hey, I can line up 2 tight ends and maybe split a tight end wide and get into 11 personnel look, but one of them is a tight end, and having that versatility at the line of scrimmage to kind of make you guys on defense have to try to adjust what you guys are doing from a look standpoint. Lance, what were the challenges for you guys going up against a team that ran heavy 12 personnel?
Well, 12 personnel, typically means you're going to need to have 3 linebackers. Probably going to need to pull that nickel out, because if they see a nickel out there with 2 6'5" tight ends, that have a little nasty about them, they're going to run at that nickel. They're going to run at that nickel. They're trying to take advantage of them. They're going to try to push them around. So you got to put a linebacker out there.
Well, it all depends on who the nickel is.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, it's true. There are always exceptions to the rule, my brother. But
run support, baby.
And one of the other things too, and the NFL was doing it a lot. During our years, they were trying to use a 12 personnel type system, and they would move one of the tight ends back to play fullback. But I don't think it was as effective, because not a lot of those guys, their names were Kleinsasser. That's one of the few guys that you could put a tight end back there that these linebackers weren't just destroying, on an ISO. Now you're seeing smaller linebackers, you're seeing bigger tight ends, and these tight ends, like Colston, you turn the tape on, and this guy he will rail a linebacker. He will absolutely move him out of the way. Cole Kmet is physical as well too. So now you create some more disadvantages, because you have these tight ends. Not only can they block, but they're also 6'5" and 6'6", 6'7". They're matchup issues for your defense as well.
Yeah, and not only that, they can stretch the field vertically instantly. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if you spread them out away from like the interior of the offense, they can attack you vertically right down the seams, and that puts a lot of pressure on the safeties, and that forces the corners basically to lock up and try to like split the difference to try to help, depending on what coverage they're in. So, with Ben Johnson, with the 12 personnel and the guys that he has at tight end, it can create a very big mismatch and a nightmare problem for the defense. Because you can also, and I also think that the run out of that formation as well, and out of that personnel, could be very dangerous. Like, they can get people really off balance if they just stay with the run in that personnel, and then run some finesse, like play action pass right down the middle of the football field. Big targets for the quarterback to see right down the middle of the football field. I think it's going to be real good for the Chicago Bears.
Now, the other thing on that too, so when I would watch, when I would see, or we would play against Deuce or 2 tight ends, 1 running back, you have to take a peek too if they're pulling anybody or not. Because if they're not pulling anybody, as a linebacker, I'm shooting gaps right now. As soon as they start moving up, I'm shooting. If any lineman comes out, I'm taking his head off, but I'm shaking his head off right into that gap, and I'm going to penetrate. So if you do see that, one thing you want to do to combat that is you got to get penetration right now. You got to get downhill.
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this all goes. And you're right, Lance, when you talk about, a lot of smaller linebackers nowadays, because they're looking for speed. Obviously, the Bears drafted Ruben Hippolyte for that reason. And so you also look, it's a punch, counter punch league, and the Eagles kind of are zigging while everyone's zagging, and they're going heavy. And they've just been dominant in the run game. That led them all the way to a Super Bowl. And so when you got, smaller personnel on defense, they're saying, okay, well, we're going to put these big bodies on offense and hit you in the mouth. So, it's all about adjustments. And, it sounds like, Ben Johnson is already saying, like, each game is its own entity, and he's not going to be beholden to just one thing. The other thing that he brought up too a couple days ago was he hasn't really decided if this team is going to be a wide zone run team or a gap scheme. You know, he hasn't made that decision yet. So does that make sense to you, Lance?
Yeah, I think if this is part of the testing of how good you are as a coach. You know, what's your range as a coach? You know, let me look at my personnel and allow my personnel to dictate what their strengths are, and go in that direction rather than, okay, this is how we run our offense, and I'm going to force these pieces to do what my offense, you know, and that's just not the way you do it. You know, in my opinion, you know, even from a defensive standpoint, you look at what you have. You know, listen, if I have a Julius Peppers, you know, on my defensive line, I'm looking for whoever the weakest lineman is every week, and I'm going to line Julius up in front of him. You know what I mean? And if I don't, then listen, we have to use our guys. We have to use our 4-down linemen, and they have to be disciplined. You know what I mean? They have to be disciplined. That's just the way it goes. But you tailor your offense or defense based off of your personnel strength.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, you don't try to fit a square peg in a round hole. I'll always say when it comes to Matt Nagy in his days here, when he stepped to the podium after the Saints game, after they ran it only 6 times, and he said, I didn't come here to run the I formation. To me, it was one of the dumbest things I've ever heard a coach say at the podium, because it's not about, yeah, you want to throw the ball, but you have to, like you said, what your personnel dictates, what the defense's personnel that you're facing dictates, that's what you decide what you're running. You don't go in premeditated that we're going to throw no matter what because you didn't come here to run the I formation. You don't have Patrick Mahomes. So you got to run the ball. You had, you know, Jordan Howard back then. You do need to get in the I formation sometimes, and that's how you play winning football, is making those adjustments. So, you know, obviously it's going to be a challenge for Ben Johnson. I heard Tom Waddle talking about this earlier, where he said, you know, I think one of the challenges he's going to have now is, you know, where Dan Campbell would make some of the decisions on aggressiveness in game management, pivotal moments in the game, where Ben was just calling the play. Well, now he's got both responsibilities to understand what the moment in the game is and also have to come up with the right play call.
I disagree with that. I think he, you know, he's got Antoine Randall L. You know, he's got some guys that have played football on that offensive staff. You know, that all of them are input guys. I don't think they're guys that stand back and they see something from the defense and they're like, hey, coach, I see this. No, they all know this offense. They're looking at what's going on in the defense and they're giving their input right now. Hey, listen, they're at Preston right now, coach. We need to, you know what I mean? We need to go up top right now, or they're giving their own input. All of them have been part of championship type teams as well.
And we're only talking about one side of the football. I mean, Ben Johnson has to worry about the other side of the football as well. I mean, there's a whole defense on that side too that need a head coach as well. Even though they have a really good defensive coordinator and some really good, you know, assistant coaches over there on the defensive side of the ball, Ben's going to have to step over there too and like work with this defensive coordinator to figure out exactly what matchups that they want to run too. So, I mean, it's a big responsibility for the head coach. He can't just worry about the offensive side of the football when there's a defensive side of the football that he has to worry about as well.
Well, and as you mentioned, with the defensive coordinator, and you have Dennis Allen, a guy that has been a head coach in this league, you know, and has had his successes and failures as a head coach and a defensive coordinator. I think he's certainly going to be, you know, not just the offensive coaching staff, to be somebody that Ben Johnson can lean on, to have Dennis Allen there to kind of take him through some of the things that worked and didn't work for him. I think should be beneficial as well.
One of the things I think he could also do. One of the things I think he can do to help.
Be a lot of pain. I think there's going to be a lot of pain before we have perfect success.
But Zoom, here's one thing that he can do to help himself win the first challenge. Win the first challenge of the year. Whenever you throw that red flag out this year, just win that sucker. Just win it. Have good analytics. Have a guy that's up there that says, hey, throw the red flag, we're going to get it, you know, and win it. We have really bad luck with that in the city of Chicago.
Yeah, for sure. As we move things along here on the Brick by Brick show here on the CHGO Bears podcast, we appreciate everyone tuning in, and make sure you hit that like button as always while you hang out with Lance Briggs and Jerry Azumah as we are underway for training camp. You know, some couple different topics. Want to talk about some different guys that got looks with the first team and second team and things of that nature. Obviously, some injuries are dictating some of those things, and that includes, Braxton Jones and Colston Loveland actually were able to kind of return. They're ramping up, so it's a limited basis, but they were able to kind of get out on the practice field here these first couple of days. I kind of want to focus on Braxton Jones because he got he got first team reps for walkthroughs. And I don't know if you guys know this, but he false started on the first play of walkthroughs.
You know what we call that? You know what we call that right there? We call that way to go, big dummy. First play of walkthrough. Way to go, big dummy. You false start.
Yeah.
It's
a welcome.
Yeah. In a walkthrough.
It's a welcome back moment. Well, I mean, I don't know. You said let's talk about Braxton Jones. Obviously, false start's not a great way to start. And I obviously want to talk about Ozzy Trapillo as well, but have any strong opinions on Braxton Jones and what he needs to do to win that job? Because Ben Johnson did say that this is a job up for grabs, and the slate has been wiped clean, so it's going to be interesting to see this play out.
Yeah, I mean, Braxton he's been hurt, so we don't really know exactly where he's at right now. I mean, we haven't seen him in a long time, basically. So Ben is right. The job is up for grabs, and they're going to have to go out there and really ball and play perfect. I'm excited for the pads to come on. That's what I'm really excited, because when the pads come on, now we're like, okay, let's see some real football. Let's see some hitting. Let's see some action. Let's see some pulling. Let's see you getting your stance. You back up. Like, I want to see it all, but it only happens when you're live, basically, or when the pads are on. And I haven't seen any of this stuff yet. So all this stuff is really brand new. I'm excited for training camp because it should be a really good battle.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around false starting in the walkthrough, right? even if you don't know the count,
thinking about it too much.
Even if you don't know the count, Zoom, you can be late and still be on sides. Like, you can just wait till everybody else moves and then move, and you're good. Nobody cares. Well, I'm glad that there's a competition there. There needs to be a competition there. It needs to be a fight, an absolute fight to win that job. Whoever wins it, I'm sure is going to earn that job.
Yep, and Ozzy Trapillo got first team reps in team drills when they moved to team drills yesterday. I'm getting word just from some of my updates. I'm getting his practices wrapping up today that Karan Amagaji got those first team reps in team drills today. So
there you go.
You're going back and forth and giving guys an opportunity. How quickly do you guys think that Ben Johnson needs to make this decision, though? Because I only ask that because last year with the center position, they were rotating first team reps. And they got like 2 weeks into it. Matt Eberflus still hadn't really decided. It ended up being decided because of injury by Ryan Bates, so it kind of worked itself out. But I just kind of felt like, hey, this is your center. This is your offense you're trying to implement with the new offense with Shane Waldron, and you're splitting first team reps with your center, where these guys need to kind of build that chemistry and continuity before the season starts. So, how quickly does Ben Johnson need to make this decision for, one of the most important positions on your football team at left tackle? Because now you're not just splitting reps with 2 guys, you're splitting it with 3 guys potentially once Braxton Jones comes back.
There's a difference when you line up with the first group, you line up with the second group and that third group. If you're a veteran that's been in and played, you don't want to line up with that third group. You definitely don't want to line up with that third group, and you don't want to line up with the second group. You want to line up with the first group, because the first group, they're the most jailed, they're the most polished of those guys that are getting those reps. So I think them rotating with the first group, I don't know how long it's going to take. I think it should take as long as it needs to, but each one of them getting a fair shot at saying, hey, I get to run with the first group and show me what you can do, and see if somebody can separate, from the plays that they're running in camp. They're going to get plenty of plays to run in camp for Ben to get an idea. Plus, add in the live action games. They're going to have practices, joint practices, and live action games when the preseason comes. There's going to be plenty of evaluation for the coaches to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the offensive line, it's pretty much solidified, and we haven't had this much unity on the offensive line in some time. Now, obviously, it's a big position with the tackle to figure that out. And Lance is right. It's going to take as long as it needs to take. But for me, it's all about, yes, getting those first unit reps, but also with the pads on, because everybody looks good with pads off. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody looks good. But once you put those pads on, you find out exactly who you have. And I think after a couple of games or a couple of padded practices, we're going to find out quickly, like, who's a step above and who's a step below.
Did you go crazy when you saw Ozzy with no pads on and just a helmet? You saw him kick stepping.
Yeah, I mean, dude, he is a mountain. And when they show these pictures of him standing next to his teammates, he is an absolute mountain. So yes, no pads on. It looks like he has pads on. That's how big this dude is, even when he doesn't. So I got to see him for myself. But I'm getting Kyle Long vibes. So I'm trying not to get ahead of my skis here, but that every year, this time of year, you know me, Lance, last year, I get way too hyped up.
Start drinking the juice.
Yeah, I start drinking the juice. So I'm doing my best to stay disciplined this year. Okay.
You must have had a hard time on that first practice then.
Yeah. Tomorrow I am going to freak out. We know this. And I'm going to put out some hype tweets, and Dan Wiederer is going to make fun of me for them. And that's just the process that I go through every year at camp.
Okay. So when you go to camp, just do me and Zoom a favor. I know you're going to be rooting on the offense, but if the defense makes a play, it is okay. You can root them on too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Make sure you root them on too, because you know what? They say defense in every football stadium. Defense matters.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Defense wins championships, right?
Too.
Yeah.
Because we won a lot of games.
Well, let's move over to the defense, because Jalen Johnson, they report to camp, and then Ben Johnson reveals that Jalen Johnson got hurt during off-season workouts on his own, and it wasn't with the team. So he got put on the NFI list or whatever list that dictates that it wasn't an injury with the team. He is with the team right now, rehabbing at Hallis Hall, but he said it's going to be a few weeks for Jalen. So who knows how long it'll be before he gets back. And now you've got some guy named Nahshon Wright, who, I guess we're going to, I'm going to get to know here over the next few weeks, getting those first team reps, and it kind of, in that moment, it's like, we have talked about maybe the best strength of this team is their secondary. When you talk about Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, and Kevin Byard. But all of a sudden, Jalen Johnson, maybe your best player on the team, goes out, and now it's Nahshon Wright and Tyreek Stevenson running the first team. And Tyreek Stevenson's got a lot to prove as well. Terrell Smith, the DB that's been on the team here a couple years and has gotten some first team reps and even some starting time, in the regular season. How much concern, Jerry, do you have with the depth behind the quality starters that we have on the secondary?
I'm not too concerned. I think with Jalen, I think that he'll be back. I think it was just an unfortunate situation, but he'll get back. I have a lot of trust in the staff over there. But I think it's important to see who your number twos are, because eventually in the NFL, your number two is going to have to go in there and play some football. So I'm really interested. Now, I'm going to watch this closely when I go to training camp, because number ones, collectively, as a healthy unit, we know what they can do. They can ball. Yeah. But the number twos, I'm not sure what we have back there. So I'm going to be glued. My eyes will be glued to them to see exactly what we have back there, because the secondary is really it's with the style of defense that they're playing in the secondary, they're going to have to match up. There's going to be a lot of man-to-man coverage. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to have to lock up, and they're going to be winded and tired and all sorts of stuff. They're just going to have to strap it up and ball. So we're going to have to see who's going to step up to be that solid number two, because we definitely need those.
Is it a hand injury? Was this the 4th of July injury? The non-football, didn't he?
I think so.
He had a snafu. And we call it a snafu, right? Right? That got too close to the wick, something like that.
I certainly hope not, or he might have lost a hand, and we need him to have his hand. He'll have the club on all season with no hand.
As we know, there have been NFL players to blow their hands
off.
What are we still doing? Just watch them. Don't light them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then you had the rookie Zay Frazier's also out with an injury right now. So, they're getting pressed. And I think one of the concerns I had wasn't that Jalen Johnson's going to be back at some point, and what he's made of when he gets out there. But I guess when I flipped it on the other side of the coin, obviously constantly focusing on the offense like we always do. And I promise I'll try not to do that all summer here. But at the same time, to not have Jalen Johnson out there, and now you've got Nahshon Wright, whoever else is going to get reps with first or second team. My concern is now an offense that needs to be challenged so they can get better. Like, how do you really get a good evaluation of how ready these guys are when you don't have a guy like Jalen Johnson going up against Rome Odunze, going up against DJ Moore, going up against Luther Burden? And I think that is going to take a hit to some of the offense's development this summer.
I don't think that's going to take a hit. I mean, they're all going to compete out there. Obviously, we know that Jalen Johnson is, the guy. But we need to find out who's behind that guy, too. So I think that he's going to step up, too. So whoever that number 2 is, they're not going to just say, you know what, because I'm a number 2, I'm just going to go out there and just kind of wet the bed. Like, they're going to show and prove to be like, look, I should be number 1 also. And they have to have that mentality. And I want to see everybody with that mentality. If you're number 2 or number 3, like, you should want to be a starter on this defense or this offense. And that's the attitude that you have to have. And if you don't have that attitude, then we don't want you.
And the other thing, too, is you never know what's going to happen during the year. And I'm not saying that Jalen's not going to be back, but I just heard a story of one of the top offensive linemen on a team that was hit by a car, and they lost him for the year. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so if it's the position where Nahshon Wright is going against our best, we really need to find out who our number 2s are, who can rotate in, because if something happens, we could be relying on them for a long time.
Yeah, and chances are something will happen. Like, somebody's going to get nicked up, someone's going to get hurt. This is the game of football. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a long season. We got a long way to go. So we need to evaluate everyone. Everyone needs a shot to figure out where they belong and where they can play on this defense or offense.
Well, we're certainly going to be finding out a lot about this team over the next few weeks. Obviously, a couple short practices here the last couple days and the press conferences. So we wanted to get some of the initial thoughts. But next time we come back here in a couple weeks, we'll have a whole lot of practices under our belt. We'll be inching closer to joint practices and preseason games, and we'll have a better idea. Yeah, I agree.
The joint practices. I can't wait for that. I think it's a great thing. I think it's fantastic that the NFL is moving in this direction.
In that direction, yeah.
And they get 2. They got one against the Dolphins and then one against the Buffalo Bills. And so that means Josh Allen, MVP, will be at Hallis Hall. And you'll find out what you're made of when you're playing him. And then Mitch Trubisky making his return to Hallis Hall.
Lord have mercy.
I may or may not have hyped him up a bunch once upon a time. But hey, I'll always be a fan first, and then I'll pretend to be a reporter second. So, So, all right. Well, let's move on to our award-winning segment here to end the show, and that is with our good friends at Circa Sports and the Bets. That's right. That's right. This is the Bets, and we're breaking down our picks from around the NFL, and we're getting our lines from Circa Sports Illinois. Download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And, we obviously through the summer, if you guys followed our show here in After Dark, we have been talking about division, winners, odds on favorites, who's going to win the division and things of that nature. Some different individual, awards, and see who can win those. So you guys are on the defensive side of the ball, so I thought I'd take that there today. And obviously we just got done talking a little defense, so we're focusing on defense to end the show. I've taken your advice. And so when you're looking at the potential of defensive player of the year, you got some names at the top of the list: Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, Aiden Hutchinson at plus 750.
Surprised.
Yeah, and he's the odds-on favorite, and a
I'm
guy
surprised.
that's
coming off injury,
coming off a pretty serious
major injury.
Yeah. So, and as you go down the list, Jared Verse at plus 1,300. That dude is certainly a game wrecker.
Yeah, he's
Trey
nice.
Hendrickson at plus 3,300, and this is a guy that's led the league in sacks the last 2 years. So I find that interesting as well.
Patrick Surtain. I mean, he's the reigning, isn't he?
Yeah, plus 4,500. That's right, for Patrick Surtain. And then the only guy on this list from the Chicago Bears, that's Jalen Johnson, as we mentioned earlier. And then he's at plus 7,000. So, Jerry, when you look at this, like for all these names on this list, not just for who you think will win Defensive Player of the Year, but players that stand out to you as some of the guys you like watching the most.
I mean, you can't go wrong with Micah Parsons. You can't go wrong with Myles Garrett. Will Anderson, he's a bad man, and Verse as well. Obviously,
I think.
But at the same time,
there we go.
I'm going to go different. I'm going to go somewhere different. Jalen Carter, to me, I mean, he is a game record, and I know it's hard. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be hard for him to win Defensive Player of the Year, but what he did in the Super Bowl and what he did with that defensive line last year with the Eagles has been absolutely incredible. This man is he's coming on right. This is what his second, third year, and he's coming into his own. And I think that he's going to be a game record for this season. So I'm going Jalen Carter, baby.
It was crazy about that is we could have got him. He could be up there right now.
He was there.
Been up there.
He was right there.
Yep. For you, Lance, so he's picking Jalen Carter. Like I said, you don't necessarily, if you got to pick, that's great. But like of these guys, who would you say is, some of your Zach Bond, obviously, had a big year for the Eagles last year. When you look at this list, some different guys, Chris Jones, Budda Baker, Fred Warner, Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame, right? Like who are some of the players that you really enjoy watching around the league defensively?
I enjoy watching them all. I think Max Crosby is one of those guys that he never comes off the field. So right, and he's not a like most D linemen. They rotate. They rotate to keep them fresh.
And he
doesn't come off the field. He has that kind of motor. So if there's anybody who could give themselves an opportunity because he's on the field every play, every snap, it's a guy like Max, that could be a dark horse, candidate for Defensive Player of the Year, especially coming in at this many years too. You have you start putting the savvy with your drive, and you stay in shape. There's things that you can do that just some of the young guys just don't get yet. So, obviously the Myles Garretts and all those guys, the Trey Hendricksons, but that would be my dark horse this year.
Yeah, and
maybe that's solid right there.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, maybe I know it's been shot down by some, but Micah Parsons and Trey Hendrickson are not very happy with their teams and the way they're being treated from a contract perspective. So maybe we get another Khalil Mack situation, and right before the season starts, all of a sudden we get one of those game records on defense. We saw how it put that defense over the top when Khalil Mack came to town a couple years ago, but probably unlikely, but never rule it out. Ryan Poles certainly has been aggressive on the trade wire, the last few years, and he tried to bring in Matthew Judon last year. He traded for Montez Sweat, who Montez Sweat wasn't on that list, but they traded for him. And I know, him and Chase Young in Washington were doing their thing. And Montez Sweat, when he first got here, certainly was making an impact, but I think he's looking to have a much bigger bounce back year, but he didn't make the list. Jalen Johnson did. So hopefully Montez Sweat can be that game record that the Bears sorely need on the defensive line. So I think that wraps things up here for the bets with Circa Sports, and we appreciate those guys. Make sure you're using Circa Sports Illinois for all your betting needs. All right, as we round third and start to head home here on this fine program and the first ever Brick by Brick show, and we look forward to continuing to do these here throughout the summer and throughout the football season. Very exciting new branding here for this show, and it's and it's been in the works for quite some time. So appreciate everyone with the hard work behind the scenes to help get this stuff done. And so we'll just end on a couple notes from around the league. Justin Fields was carted off the practice field about an hour ago. It sounds like he had a toe injury. So hopefully he'll be okay. He did have to be carted off. So I think there was obviously some major concern when that first happened, but maybe with the toe injury, I don't know. I mean, sometimes toe injuries can be, obviously he uses his legs quite a bit, but hopefully the toe injury isn't.
When you get carted off, there's a lot
injuries.
of things. Yeah, there's a lot of things. I know it's bad, but you could have heard Achilles, you could have heard it was a knee injury, a toe. While it is serious, probably a good chance that he'll be back on the field at some point.
Yeah,
this year.
Yep. Okay. And then the final thing that I really wanted to get to was I'm actually pretty mad at Jerry. And not happy with you. You didn't invite me golfing, and clearly you put this on Twitter. You're with.
I like my friends better.
Peanut Tillman and Frank Thomas, and for whatever reason, I didn't get a phone call. I talked golf with
my
you
phone
all the
died.
time.
That wasn't even my phone.
So you're limited to four. A foursome.
So,
right.
We got to know, how did this go? Who was the best golfer? Who was the worst? Like, give us something here.
Yeah, we played. It was fun.
The Big Hurts has to have the best drive. He had to have the best drive.
Yeah, we played. It was fun.
I always find a way to get golf into.
Man, you guys are really on my Twitter, huh?
Yeah, we're on your Twitter, of course. We won't share it. If we want to bring back the picture of you taking tequila shots, we will.
Oh,
but
goodness,
but this one was great.
Was.
It's always cool to see the guys get back together, and Devin and Peanut and you, and obviously Frank Thomas. I mean, come on, a legend here in this city. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, shout out to those guys. And yeah, I've been on a heater here lately golfing. So anytime you're going out and you want me to show you how it's done, I'm happy to do that. Thank you very much.
Next time you don't have a foursome. Next time you don't already have a foursome.
Yeah. And Briggsy, when we were in Arizona, had one of the best putts I've ever seen.
Yes,
so
you've ever seen one of the best putts you've ever seen?
It was like a 40-footer, Jerry.
It was an 80 footer.
An 80-footer?
It was an 80-foot putt. It was
80-foot
damn
putt.
good. Crazy.
Okay.
Crazy. All right. It's rare.
All right.
It's rare. Like it was a putt and one.
Yes, absolutely. So make sure you're hitting the like button as we are heading out of here, and become a diehard at allchgo.com/diehard. You see the QR code here on your screen. Got a lot of different things. Adam Johns is giving exclusive written content now that he's joined CHGO Sports, and he's putting out articles every single day. He's got some exclusive interviews coming up here over the next few weeks. Some really, really great content coming from Johns, Adam Hogue, Mark Carmen, everybody from the team. You get discount on merchandise, if you check out our store at store.allcitynetwork.com. You can see all the different types of shirts and stuff you get. We do have a brick by brick shirt.
Nice.
We're going to be making, we've had them here for a couple years in our store. We're going to make some little adjustments to it here over the next few days. And we'll have more shirts of those available. So if you want to support our program by getting the brick by brick shirt, I know we'd certainly appreciate it as well. And so, you get discounts on events as well. We got tailgates coming up all season long. So as I said, make sure that you are subscribing to the channel. Make sure you're becoming a diehard here at allchgosports.com/diehard. And then, of course, hitting the like button is, the easiest thing you can do. It certainly goes a long way on helping us out and everything we do here for CHGO Bears. So that wraps things up for the first edition of the Brick by Brick Show. I certainly appreciate everyone once again for their hard work. Thank you to everyone that tuned in. And of course, thank you to Jerry Azumah and Lance Briggs for all their hard work here this summer, and I look forward to a fun season. So with that being said, as we always like to close this out, keep your head up, ladies and gentlemen, and always bear down.
Bear down.
We all silly like the mayor.